It's time for Bring Your Own Lunch, a podcast for your whole face, with your host, Dave T. Koenig.
All right, come on in, have a seat, welcome. This is the Bring Your Own Lunch podcast at bringyourownlunch.com, the magic of iTunes, the majesty of Stitcher, and however you found your way to download this podcast, where we hear personal stories about the business. I thank you. As you heard at the top, my name is Dave T. Koenig. I'm an actor, writer, director, producer, a comedian, all-around good, swell fella, and my first car was a Volkswagen Rabbit that vibrated a lot. Glad you can join us for another one. My guest this week is an old friend, and I'm not joking when I say that. My guest is Fred Berman, who is right now on Broadway playing the role of Timon in The Lion King, Disney's The Lion King. But before he and I knew each other professionally, we knew each other personally, going way back to our days at Manhasset High School. In fact, Manhasset Junior High. In fact, a little bit before that, when I was in elementary school, I met Fred. Anyway, I've known Fred for, a long time now. And Fred and I sat down. He was gracious enough to invite me to come to the Minskoff Theater, where the Disney's The Lion King is produced. And we sat in his dressing room, and we had a really awesome, fun chat. Talked a little bit about our days growing up in Manhasset on Long Island, and we transitioned into our mutual experience going to Hofstra, where he and I didn't really cross paths all that much, I should say, which is interesting. And then how we have each gone our separate ways into the business, and we have met up at this stage of our careers, which is very cool. In fact, he and I have the same commercial agents, Abrams Artists, so I will see him more frequently now than I had in the previous 20 years, which is kind of fun. Anyway, Fred has lots of amazing stories. Fred is a very, very unique individual, and I think you'll hear very quickly throughout the course of the interview that he and I just speak in it very easy. Our conversation comes very easy to us because we had so many shared experiences. But I learned a lot about Fred also. There were things that I didn't know. Fred comes from a show business family. His father was a musician, and knowing Fred growing up, I got to watch as he seemed to know every single instrument under the sun, and I could play none of them, which immediately made me feel like I was 8 million times less cool than Fred. But Fred is not the reason for that. Fred was actually very cool growing up and was hilarious, and you'll hear a couple stories in there of Fred's interesting comedy pursuits and whether or not they got him into a little bit of trouble in high school. And his sister Simona Berman, she's in the business as a voiceover artist and actor, and I've also been keeping in touch with her, which is very cool. There's a group of us that came out of Manhasset High School all around the same time that have gone on to professional careers in the performing and entertainment field. And it's always cool to hear good stories about things happening to those folks. I was thinking about how many of them and who has gone on and what they've been doing. And rather than naming them chapter verse, I'll refrain from that because I don't want to dismiss anybody or forget anybody or just omit anybody from the conversation. It's just very cool whenever I hear of somebody who came out of Manhasset doing well in the entertainment arts. I think it's a very, very cool thing. And if you're hearing my voice for the first time since however long ago, it'd be great to hear from you. So let's connect once again, and you could tell me what you're doing, and maybe you'll be on an upcoming episode of Bring Your Own Lunch. Now, Fred and I went to school together in the 80s, and having gotten to a certain point in life, we are now officially retro. Our childhoods have become retro. And in fact, it's had an influence on several different things. And now, as the father of children, I am experiencing my own childhood as repurposed for them. I'll give you an example. My daughter last year got to be a fan, or maybe it was even this year, but it was a song that came out in the last year and a half or so by a guy named Pitbull, who performs with Christina Aguilera on the single Feel This Moment. And if you're not familiar with it, you may be familiar with the group Aha from the 80s and their song Take On Me. Well, if you know Aha and Take On Me, you know Pitbull and Feel This Moment, because it's basically the same song, just reworked a little bit. And for me, I don't want to discourage my daughter from enjoying the songs she likes. She's 6 years old. She should have freedom to discover all kinds of music, and we encourage that. But there is a little part of me that just gets a little bit annoyed every time that song comes on and she starts singing along to it. Because, not because of her, but because it's the extreme example of somebody taking something that already existed, barely changing it, and saying they made it themselves. And I know this is an old fight. Back in the 80s, we experienced it with Vanilla Ice and how he took a hook from Under Pressure by David Bowie and Queen and turned it into Ice Ice Baby. But I'll even argue that back then, it was a very small snippet. It was a tiny hook from Under Pressure. It was that ding, 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 ding. That's about as much made it into Vanilla Ice's song. And I'm not dismissing what he did, and he got into a lot of trouble for it because he denied the fact that he took the hook from their song and put it into his. But this thing with Pitbull and a lot of artists nowadays, they'll just take entire verses of songs, take the melody, put new lyrics in it, and pretend like it's a new song. And for me, that's, I don't know. I have trouble with this because I'm all for originality. I'm not against art, but the way things happen these days, because you listen to this Pitbull song and it's like you hear the da na 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 na, and it's like the refrain from the Aha song. And to me, it's like if I go over to my neighbor's house and I just nail a 2x4 to the side of their house and then go tell people I built that house, it's a slightly disingenuous. So that's my first problem with that song. There's another problem I have that's a little more subtle. The lyrics are, I don't really know the lyrics to the song, but, and part of it's because Pitbull is this guy who raps, but he sounds like a guy at the Carnegie Deli who's trying to talk through the fact that he's got the skin of a kernel of popcorn stuck in the back of his throat. It sounds like this or something like that. You know, it give you an idea where it's like, it gets something stuck in my throat. That's how he sounds to me. But there's one line in the song very early on where he says, "Take my advice, get money twice." And as the father of an impressionable 6-year-old, I have trouble with this because it is very incomplete advice. Get money twice? What does that mean? What? You can't just leave it there and just expect us to know what you're talking about. Get money twice. Hey, Dave, it's payday. Oh, hey, Linda, thanks very much. I appreciate it. Yeah. Linda, I gotta, I've been listening to Pitbull and, I'm going to need you to give me this again. You need what? I need you to just give me the money again. So in essence, I need the money twice. Do you want me to give you the check again, or do you want another check? See, that's where I'm not sure, because Pitbull didn't really fully explain it to me. Well, I think you should try to figure that out. Nobody would be happier than me if I could figure out what this was supposed to mean. Well, maybe you should call him. I can't call Pitbull. Why not? Well, because it seems like an imposition. Plus, I feel uncomfortable calling people on the phone. It's something like, it's a little phobia of mine. Is that why you didn't call me? No, that's not. That's a totally separate. No, fine. I'll call Pitbull. Okay? Okay, Linda? I'll call Pitbull. Jeez. All right. Hello? Hey, Pitbull. Who's this? It's Dave. The BYOB guy? No, see, it's BYOL. A lot of people make that mistake. It's bring your own lunch. I don't get it. No, it's okay. That's fine. I understand. Now, see, look, you know how you did that song with Christina? Feel This Moment? Yeah, Christina Aguilera. I'm sorry. Wait, what did you just call her? Christina Aguilera. Do you not know her name? She's great. Yeah, no, she's great. I think she's very good, very talented, very powerful voice. And I agree with you 100%. So you know how you did that song and you say, take my advice, get money twice. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do there. It's a little bit confusing. And I was hoping maybe you can elaborate or at least clarify what you think we should do here, whether or not we should get the same money twice, or we should just give a check back to somebody and have them hand it to me again. I hate to ask, but can you clarify that for me? See, here's my thinking. I believe that in this world there are man, popcorn has been there all day. I knew it. So here's my thinking. There's going to be a lot of people who are going to try to steal your money. They're going to determine that you have more than they do, and they will try to take it from you. And all you have to do is protect that. That's your job. Because you're either the cattle or you're the rancher. Wait, didn't you steal that from Walking Dead? Click. Ah! I never did find out from Pitbull what we're supposed to do there, but my feeling is that the best thing you could do is do what you feel is right. And if you're ever in a time where you're not 100% sure, play it safe. Because, let's be honest, you don't want to go doing something that you shouldn't do. And if there's a question of it, it's much better to be safe than sorry. And you know where I got that? From Take On Me by Aha. As always, got to thank some people before we continue. Banuba, they're the folks that provide the music at the beginning, middle, and end of this show, and they are an integral part of what we do. Banuba.net is their website. That's BANOOBA.net. That's where you can find out where they are, where they're going, and download some of their music because they are great. This week, we announced the next date for the New York Short Film Shootout. Finally got our October date settled. And we will be back at the Treehouse Theater in New York City, 154 West 29th Street on October 29th. That's a Wednesday. That's a new night for us. And we will have a great lineup of films to show you, short films. We're doing a bit of a Halloween theme, so if you are planning on coming to join us, you can get dressed up, and we'll have some special prizes for best costume. And I will be there to host along with Vinny Petrosini. We're excited about it. It'll be a lot of fun. And if you wanted more information about it and buy tickets online, you can go to nysfso.com. It does go to our Facebook page, but we're working on it, I promise. And, of course, you can go to find out about the venue where the New York Short Film Shootout will be held by going to treehousetheaternyc.com. And, of course, you can always go to our website, bringyourownlunch.com. You can follow us on Twitter at BYOL Podcast. You can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/bringyourownlunch. And most importantly, if you want to help out this show, go to iTunes, subscribe, rate, review, share, let other people know about this podcast because that does tremendously for us in terms of letting iTunes know that you like the show, and also it spreads the word, lets everybody else know that you like the show, and the more people listening, the better. Because I think if people aren't listening to the show, it's just me talking into my pillow, and that's no fun. All right, let's get into it with Fred Berman, my old friend from back home. I think you will enjoy this conversation. He's got a lot to say. He's got a lot of funny stories, and we have a lot of fun with this. So I hope you will enjoy. Here's Fred. So what's really funny is that I just asked you, like, the most recent book you read, and you interpreted as those are you told me the projects.
The audiobooks. Oh, God, now I sound like such a douchebag.
No.
Work
Yeah, that's really... It's totally understandable, but it's like it's something I no. I would have never thought that, because it's like it's understandable that you because we're talking about the business, and you're like, oh well, of course. Let me think about the ones that I read out loud into a microphone, as opposed to the ones that you actually read.
And unfortunately, like most of the book, because not unfortunately, but fortunately, because I am able to do audiobooks, a lot of times I can only read those books because I have to prep them. But I'm reading Freakonomics on the side.
Oh, and that's pretty interesting stuff.
It is pretty interesting. It's literally, there's like a library upstairs in the theater, and I walked by and I saw it, and I'm like, I should read. That's like one of those books that you always see.
That's right.
And I'm like, I feel like I should read that because it'll make me at least look smarter. But it's very interesting. It is really interesting.
Yeah. They come up with a lot of theories that just blow your mind, how they're able to relate. Well, I just smacked my own microphone, but how they're able to relate to seemingly very diverse things and then bring them together and have it go, oh, wow, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I literally just started it, but it seems very cool.
Yeah. Their podcast is really good too.
Oh, they have a podcast?
Yeah.
Everyone's got a podcast.
Well, obviously, yeah, because we're sitting here doing one.
That's true. I gotta get me a podcast.
So Fred Berman. Fred Berman. Now, for me, this is different because you and I have known each other for, if I have to guess, 30 years.
30 years.
Probably, yeah, because I was probably about 12.
Yeah.
Give or take.
Yeah. Jesus
and
Christ.
So.
Did we know each other in elementary school, too? You went to Shelter Rock, right?
Yes, I did go to Shelter Rock School, and I know you went to Muncie Park.
Yeah.
And the challenge here is to not make it completely insidery for anybody listening to this. So we're going to have to like take steps every once in a while to like fill in whoever didn't go to Shelter Rock School or to Muncie Park School.
I'm going to follow your lead on that.
No, that's cool. No. It's part of the fun of doing this is with you is that it's like, how often do you get to do this? You know?
Yeah.
To sit and chat with somebody who is in the same business you're in, that you went to not just
you watched go through puberty.
Exactly. I mean, you saw some really horric stuff in your time.
I did. But
you unfortunate man. You
made it through. You made it through okay.
I made it through the wilderness.
Yeah.
I'm like Madonna.
The wilderness that grew down there.
Yeah. Only Fred Berman can get away with that. All right. So yeah, I mean, what I think you and I met because your sister Simona is also in the business.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And she and I did the high school production of Wizard of Oz.
Oh,
when we were still
in of the Munchkin
That's right.
City.
I was the mayor of Munchkin City, and Simona was one of the Munchkins.
Yeah.
I think she was in the Lollipop Guild.
She was a Lollipop Guild.
Wow, there you go.
Yeah.
And I know you were around, but you were already in,
smokes.
I guess you were already in junior high at that point, because I was in 6th grade. That means you would have been in 7th grade.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So you were around for a lot of rehearsals just hanging out.
Yeah.
Because at that age, you probably still couldn't be home alone, and you know your parents didn't necessarily want to hire a babysitter every time.
I wasn't in the Wizard. I don't think I wanted to be in the Wizard of Oz.
I don't know if you could. It may be that, but as a 7th grader, you weren't allowed to audition. They only auditioned elementary school kids. I think
that's ageism.
That is ageism.
Great.
You would have been great. You would have been a
great angry munchkin.
A lullaby league. You could have been. You could have been the lullaby league.
Angry Jewish munchkin.
That's right, man.
Ugh, why did you make such a mess?
You know, someone's going to have to clean this. You know,
it's not going to be me. I'm going to pay someone.
These houses aren't made of I'm not made of money. These houses, where we have to follow code.
Ugh, the wind and everything is just spinning
and hiring people these days. You know, the witch controls the whole thing, so it's not easy to be a munchkin today. Years ago, they suffered, and now we have to live it in memory of their suffering.
This road, I put every brick down, brick by brick. But it's all right. You want to walk on it with your fancy shoes? Go ahead.
Your grandfather would spin in his pointy, curly shoes if he knew.
Oh, man.
Anyway,
Mrs. Sussin knew.
So that's if Mrs. Sussin, who taught us in junior high theater, what we'd be talking about today, she would be. I don't know how she'd react to it. So that's where I met you in Manhasset as a munchkin. That's how I met you in many different senses. Yeah. So all right. So for somebody who didn't grow up in Manhasset, because I've talked about it on the podcast a little bit. You know, my background going to high school there. Mm-hmm. But for you, how would you describe living and growing up in Manhasset?
You know, it's weird. I was thinking about it coming here today, and I think because I knew that we were going to be talking, and I knew Manhasset was going to come up. Like, I had a good childhood, but for some reason, I don't know if you feel this way. I have I have this weird I don't know if bitterness is the right word, or like this sort of Manhasset, but nothing bad ever happened to me there.
Right.
I mean, there was I don't think anything worse happened than what happens to any kid growing up at times, teasing or whatever, but nothing traumatic. I had friends, but it was fine.
Yeah, it's funny to look back on it now because we have a lot more life perspective.
Yeah.
And growing up in that town, just to help explain it, it's a very wealthy town.
Yeah, which I had no idea until now coming back to it. I didn't realize it was so wealthy.
Are you kidding?
No, because we lived modestly. I mean, we had a nice, you and I kind
of had a very similar family whatever you call it.
Yeah.
Like we lived incredibly comfortably.
Yeah.
My dad provided tremendously for us. And, we didn't really want for anything. But at the same time, we were growing up surrounded by people who could, their grandkids won't want for anything just because of the family money that came
Well, that's what I mean. Because I would go to people's houses, like in the Plandome area or other places, and I was just like, wow, these are big houses. But at the time, it didn't hit me. I'm like, oh, this is just so-and-so's house. This is so. But then going back years later and driving around, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
That's not just a house.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
a
really
mansion.
big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's for real. Yeah.
And I think maybe that's what it was. Maybe that's the feeling I have now.
Yeah, I think there was a subtle little bit of because I always describe it I felt like I came from the other side of the tracks, which meant that my dad did really well as opposed to owned a company that was a national company. Because in our town we had the guy who owns 1-800-Flowers or started that. Yeah.
I didn't know.
No. And the Wallbaums who owned all the supermarkets, the Ronzonis.
The Ronzonis, yes. Yeah. What was her name? She was the girl on the, was it Lisa?
She was the girl on the thing?
She was the girl. She was the baby.
I didn't know that.
On the Ronzoni packaging.
Get out of here.
Yeah. Yes. That was a house.
Yeah.
Which was, the pool and the slide.
Yeah. So you had a lot of people who did have a lot of money and their kids grew
But there
up.
was I never felt there was an elitist. I never got an elitist feeling from people generally. That we were not here and there, but no. I mean, it seemed like
in retrospect, it was nothing. If it's probably at the time when you're 14 years old and you're like, hey, I really want to have this, and not only do the other kids have this, but they have the gold version of this. Yes. And you're like, I can't get that,
right?
Because it's out of our league, whatever that thing might be. And that feels like it's a crushing blow.
Yeah, that's true. Because I always the same thing. My parents, I mean, I don't want to say I was spoiled, but they never let me wanting anything.
Exactly.
But it was always. I had friends because playing drums, I had other friends who would get the most, the biggest drum set ever.
Right.
And I got a great drum set, but it wasn't, it was slightly cheaper and it was great. And I still play that same drum set today, but that was always in the back of my mind a little bit.
If you can
they got the Mongoose, I got the Tornado dirt bike.
That's exactly what there was a big thing where the Mongoose BMX bikes, and I didn't get a Mongoose. And if I in retrospect, I was like, I should have been so grateful that I had the bike that I had. But when you're 14 or whatever it is, you're like, oh, my life is over.
Because you see what the other kids have. And I mean, it's ridiculous that we're even talking this way. Because,
it's silly. It's silly to think about it in retrospect, but it's that's sort of the mentality.
Bunch of entitled, spoiled ass. Jesus Christ. We got a fucking bike. There are kids out there who have to build their own bikes.
Exactly. With the leftovers from dinner. I mean, that's
a chicken bone and an old cantaloupe rind. Now going right around the block.
We're awful people. Yeah. And what turns out is that it was a test of our will and spirit, and we failed. It was.
Yeah, no, it was a fine town.
It was. And we had a lot of benefits. Because the taxes were pretty high because the tax revenues were high.
Right.
We had a lot of programs in our school that a lot of kids didn't, including theater.
We had a great, that's the funny thing because in my head, I always think of it as again, I don't know why. Maybe it's this, I'm romanticizing in this way that it was oh no, it's very elitist and, people in Manhasset didn't understand me or whatever. But no, we had this, and they shunned the theater, the arts to people. But they didn't at all. They did amazing.
They put a lot of money into it.
I mean, we had, I remember at Hofstra showing pictures to people of the sets that we had in our shows. And they were that's Broadway caliber set.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
I remember there was a guy, Carl Huglin.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was a professional set designer who designed commercial sets that we saw on TV all the time. And he was the guy who was helping design the sets.
Yeah.
For our productions, which is mind blowing.
Yeah.
So I always for a long time I had that thing Manhasset.
Yeah.
But to be honest, it's I look back at it now and I'm I'm so lucky to have grown up.
Yeah.
And been given that sort of level of exposure to theater, something we all really obviously loved.
And Mr. Pantina too, Peter Pantina.
Well,
was the vice principal.
I was going to ask you about him because he's somebody who our vice principal, and I think he became principal at some point, but maybe after we were there. But Dr. Pantina was the biggest supporter in the world. So he was
which
very
I had
protective.
no idea at first because our first run-in was I was dressed as a condom. was Halloween.
So you cut to the chase. All right. So knowing Fred growing up, there were a lot of stories of Fred getting into unique trouble.
What's that?
There were always stories of you getting into trouble in the most unique ways. It wasn't like you set fire to a chair, or you didn't just curse at a teacher. You had some of the most ridiculously inventive ways of getting in trouble.
Stupid, I think, is the word.
Stupid is fine, but in within that is a certain amount of genius because, like you just said, you went to Halloween dressed as
a condom. Yeah.
Tell me about the road to being a condom at school in whatever 10th grade it was.
It was. I mean, I've been speaking about this a lot lately because just reminiscing and talking about my mom. But it was. Now you have to remember at the time that was like. I'm not painting myself as a revolutionary in any means.
No,
but it was. I don't think you couldn't go out and buy a condom costume. Like now you go to Halloween stores and you can get like little condom.
Oh, easily. Yeah.
But so anyway, me and Josh Kleinberg always used to try to dress up for Halloween. I think we wore like togas the year before, like nothing major, but we're like.
You go to school dressed as something.
Yeah. And I remember very vividly, it was the night before Halloween. I couldn't think, like Josh and I were like, we just didn't figure it out that year. And I was like, what am I going to do? And for whatever reason, I just thought it'd be fun. I was like, it's a condom. That was sort of funny. And I remember so vividly, walked up the stairs, walked into my parents' room. My mom was like putting away clothes. My dad was up there. And I said, hey, I want to go dress as a condom. Can you help me? And it was like she was waiting for me to come in. She literally, the way I have it in my head is that she just like turned around. She was like, turned around, reached behind her bed and just pulled out this long, white, like Bloomingdale's wardrobe bag or something.
Yeah. I remember the costume. I have just brief snippets in my brain of what this costume looked like, but I remember the fact that it was a clothing bag.
It's a clothing bag, yeah. But it was literally like, I mean, she wasn't like, really? Or no. She just was like, okay. I've been waiting all my life. I've been waiting for this day for my son to ask me.
Yeah, right.
Pulled it out.
Yeah.
She put a little cup on the top to make the tip. It was very simple. We rolled it up at the bottom.
Of course.
This is coming from a kid. I don't think I'd even seen a condom at that point. Like, I think I had a vague idea of what it was.
Somehow though, like
ladies weren't throwing themselves at me at 10th grade at that point.
But
mullet.
But that's what I think made it you and I different is that you seem to have this sense. It's going to sound really funny. This sense of sophistication about it. Where it's like, hey, Fred, not only is Fred like, can he say condom out loud? Because this was the 80s and it was like, we're still like learning how to have open conversations about any amount of sex as a society.
Yes.
So here was this kid who not only could say condom out loud, but came dressed to school as a condom. I'm like, you may have been a year older, but maturity wise, you were like 15 years older. Oh, no,
I was at least 10 years younger. That's what you're saying.
And so you went to school dressed as a condom.
Yeah.
And then what happened?
I put it on upstairs. I put it on like you do.
Sure.
And within 3 minutes of me having it on, I believe it was Mr. Napoli, who was the principal, who's a very intimidating man.
He was serious
a scary
business.
Dude.
Yeah.
He came up and literally dragged me, pulled me from my locker down the stairs. My books just like flew in the air. And he's like, we're going to call your mother to see what she thinks about this.
Right.
And I said, well, she helped me make it. And that was it. And I can remember the look on his face. And so they pulled me into the office and I sat there for several hours.
Now, please tell me you were in the costume.
In the costume. Well, here's the thing. Like I said, I didn't do this as like a revolutionary thing. I'm like, I just thought it was funny.
Yeah, right.
And had anyone at any point said, you got to take that off, I probably would have. Right. But no one ever did. No one ever said, take that condom off, you idiot. So I sat there and I can still see the glares of the secretaries just like, ugh. And then finally I went into, I think that was his name, Mr. Napoli, right?
Yeah.
I think he was like,
oh wait, was it Mr. Napoli or was it Mr. Keeney?
No, it was Mr. Napoli.
Okay.
No, it was Mr. Napoli.
Mr. Napoli, Mr.
face.
Keeney had a little bit softer touch, a little bit.
No, Napoli was like a guy. Yeah. I mean, he was the heavy. He was the Don. But so then he like let it go, and then he passed me on Mr. Pantino, Dr. Pantino.
Right.
So I remember I think my mom showed up. They called my mom out of work. We went into the office and we sat there. And my mom, God bless her, like fought for me and then it ended up turning it into like this whole thing about like, well, it's about safe sex and it's about teaching a lesson. Right. And at one point she was like, let me ask you something, Mr. Pantino, did you practice safe sex? Which was like completely, and she even knew it. Like she went, and he was like he was like, that's ridiculous.
Right.
And she was like, I'm sorry. And, it just turned into something that it wasn't. And God bless my mom for for doing that. And God bless Mr. Pantino for sitting there and humoring this idiot 10th grader wearing a condom. I'm sure he probably knew what my mom was thinking, but, they hashed it out. And finally, it was just sort of like, okay, you either take it off or you're expelled.
Oh, and got down to that.
Yeah. And my mom said she left it up to me, which was pretty great.
Wow.
Yeah. And there was like a second where like at that point I thought, ooh, well, what if I get expelled? That'll seem really cool. I'll be like Lucas or something, and I'll come back and
the whole school
clap.
Does a walkout for the condom boy.
No, that wasn't going to happen. So I wisely decided I'm just going to take it off. And then I think, we went back to school and like at the end of the day, there was like a big rally or something. And I like threw it on for a second. I was like, oh, because everyone was like, put it on.
Yeah. I just remember you coming to lunch and you got out in time for lunch. So we were able to hear the story. And one of the things you had done was written, this is how much it made an impression on me. You had written like slogans on this, the wardrobe, the clothing bag.
I think I had didn't I have like a sperm with an X through it?
You did?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And there was another little thing that said, "Wrap that rascal."
No, I did not. Really?
You totally did, because what I remember is you saying that Dr. Pantino was yelling at you. Do you know what he means by "wrap that rascal"?
Oh, God bless him. If you're listening to this, Dr. Pantino, I apologize.
He probably will, because he and I, ironically, he retired from educating and became an actor.
I know. Yeah. Well, but that's the funny thing, going back to the original point, was that was my first experience with him, really. I didn't know who he was. Right. And then it turned out later. So then, like, every time I'd see him in the hallway, I was a little scared of him. Sure, and it was just like, I would always, like, in my head, he was glaring at me. Mm-hmm. And then I remember doing, I think it was like Diary of Anne Frank there.
Yeah.
And he came up to me and he was so complimentary and he seemed so, it just sort of embraced me about it. And I was like, oh my God, he sort of digs this whole theater thing. Yeah. And then I found out later, like, no, and then I think he came to one of our theater classes and he did a monologue. He did like a monologue or something. Yeah. I remember him jumping up and change coming out of his pocket.
Yeah, he absolutely And
I was like, oh my God, this guy, he's into the arts. And I believe that he and my mom actually became rather close, just because of that, being involved in the theater.
He was a huge supporter. Yeah. And I think we didn't quite understand, obviously we wouldn't have, because we were kids, that there were a lot of people out there protecting this program. Absolutely. We had, and
we had a great music program too.
Tremendous music program. I know you were a lot more involved. I was in chorus,
right? But even the fact that we had chorus, we had band, we had marching band, we had orchestra,
and those were all classes.
Yeah.
They weren't just like before school, after school. Like,
right. There was jazz band. There was, there was a lot of stuff.
I mean, we were fortunate, and we have to credit John Shorter, who was the theater director at our high school. We had daily acting classes. Yeah. As part of our curriculum. I mean,
that is pretty crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I don't talk to very many people who say that they had that much immersion in theater when you were a kid. I mean, obviously they had their before school, after school stuff.
Right. And we had the repertory.
That was the daily. Yeah.
That was the daily one, right? Yeah. You'd like travel and.
We would take tours. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's like we got to leave school to perform. Yeah. Some of the pieces of the stuff we were doing. Like if we did a musical, we got to leave school to go perform at the other schools. Yeah. We had privileges.
Yeah. We were very lucky, actually.
We were very lucky, yeah. So a lot of praise. And like I said, I had that same reaction as you, where it's like, man, Manhasset, I don't ever care to go back. But now it's like, I look back, I'm like, I got like a small college theater education.
Absolutely.
While I was in high school, which is incredible.
Now, did you always want to do it? Because you started at 6th, like, were you like, I want to audition for these shows?
Yeah, well, I mean, not to put the focus on me, my story, but I had done like I had gotten involved in coming into the city and doing auditions when I was in like 5th, 6th grade. So I was already kind of heading in that direction. And then when I did the Wizard of Oz thing, it was like, oh yeah, absolutely. I had that internal.
I think that might have been another connection too, actually, because me and my sister were doing that.
Maybe it was
as well, and I feel like that because now that you're saying that,
or either that, or maybe it's possible that our moms.
That's what
connected.
I mean.
Yeah. Because I mean, it's like your mom. Kind of, I was going to say, based on the condom story, that we kind of had the same, probably lack of fear about institutional authorities, because I think you probably answered to your mom and dad far more than you ever would to a principal or something like that.
Yeah.
And that was kind of unheard of. Like, I wasn't worried about getting in trouble at school. I was worried about the trouble in school getting me in trouble at home. And that was a big thing.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's like, teachers are afraid of getting in trouble with the kids because the parents might come and sue them. But your mom was sort of revolutionary that way, in that she was always like fighting.
She fought a lot.
You.
She had a big mouth, and like we had. I mean, this is going back, but I remember there was some, because we were one of the few, and I think it's changed, but we were one of the few Jewish families in Manhasset as well.
Yeah, at the time
there weren't that many, and I remember there were like little spurts of anti-Semitism every now and then, and my mom was quick to. Put a quell on that, down, kids hearing someone say something and then coming in the next day and like throwing pennies or whatever. And then, that was fun.
I didn't get that level because I had, my mom was Catholic, my dad was Jewish. So I kind of floated around without any real necessary identity that would you could be racist against. Yeah. So
it was weird too. I mean, not to like get like heavy and deep about it, but because I remember very vividly again, like showing up to school when it was in Muncie Park. This is elementary school.
Wow.
And showing up and like suddenly like we'd all meet in like the front in the playground and, do it whatever 4th to 5th graders did. And for this day, everyone was just like telling Jewish jokes and like throwing pennies at like me and Josh Kleinberg.
That's amazing to think about, really.
It was just like came out of nowhere. And it must have been like, I mean, I don't want to blame the parents, but it must have been a parent saying something.
It had to have been.
One of the kids heard it and was like, oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
And there was like a week where it was just like merciless, like he's a Jewish hot dog and like things. And I didn't even understand. I was like, what does that mean?
I actually still don't understand that one, but
not really sure because the Jewish hot dogs are normally the best. Like the kosher Franks.
I was like, that's a compliment.
That's a good thing. Yeah,
really.
Well, I don't want to be one of your trafe hot dogs.
Ballpark.
But it was weird. But yeah, and then so I remember like my mom coming in and just going home and telling her that and not really knowing what it meant, because as a kid, like I don't like we celebrate Hanukkah. What's the big deal?
And it is a no big deal thing, when it comes down to it. But I think that's the one thing that happened in that town is that there was that sort of insular feeling, like you were part of the club or you weren't part of the club. Yeah. And unfortunately, it came out obviously when you were 5th grade. 5th graders should not have any sense of ethnic slurs. It's like you have to be taught that.
But you don't know too, because I remember. I can't even believe I'm going to talk about the story because it's one of those things that like hangs on my head.
Oh, okay.
Where I was in Hebrew school and I heard someone use the N-word.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I didn't know what it meant.
Oh, okay.
I knew I was like, I think that's a word that you use with African American people, but I didn't know it was a joke.
Oh, okay.
No idea like the implications of it. And
sure.
I remember. There's a kid, Rashim Denton, and we would always like, what was it called back then? Like we called them snaps.
Snaps.
Like it was either like little wise
your
cracks.
Mama jokes or whatever.
Like your mama jokes.
Yeah.
We'd have like snap offs.
Okay, yeah.
And I remember we were in the locker room after gym, and like we were snapping, and I was like, oh, I got the trump card, and I used the joke with the N-word, not having any idea.
Of course, yes.
And man, the look on his everyone was like, they just stopped and they chased me out. And then I remember, I can't remember, we ended up outside and I was being chased around and one of the aides was like, what are you doing? And like, why are you chasing Fred? Because it was Rashim and another kid who was sort of like one of the bad seeds or whatever. So I was always like the little innocent kid. So they assumed it was their fault. Like, why are you chasing Fred?
Oh.
And he was like, he called Rashim the N-word.
Right.
And the look on her face, and she made me sit on the steps. You didn't go to Muncie Park.
No, but I know the steps. I think I know the steps you're talking about. Yeah.
And the look on her face, it was like, to this day, it haunts me.
Wow.
Oh, it was awful. Yeah. It just killed me. And
you learned right then and there.
Yeah.
Right then and there. You knew, like, okay, you learned your lesson and
oh my God, it was
you never do it again. Yeah.
It was awful. And I mean, I think about Rashim and I'm like, what, because that was another thing about Manhasset. It was white.
Yeah, very.
It was
very,
white.
Yeah.
And any like African American kids came from, I think it was called Spinney Hill.
Yeah.
That was the area.
Which was like basically Great Neck, which is the town next to ours. Man. But yeah, there was, they integrated the schools that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was very, I look back on it. It's like, I did have friends who were black and who were Asian and South Asian. And so I had a lot of mix of friends, but the percentage of kids was
like very white and waspy.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. But so it's, Anyway, how do we get there?
That's why I say, when I tell you about it before we begin, I always say, like, I don't have an agenda. Whichever way our conversation goes, that's okay with me. So
Munchkins and racism.
Munchkins and racism, which is my favorite flavor of ice cream. I don't even know what that means. All right, so you finished up at Manhasset. We could probably go on with like for an hour and a half with just those stories, but it's funny. We both ended up going to Hofstra. I kind of took an end around there, but why Hofstra? Why did you choose there?
Went to Hofstra. I was originally going to GW, George Washington University.
Okay.
This is going to turn into therapy, but to bring up another sore subject, I decided that I wanted to go do theater sort of later. And I didn't really understand why.
When you say later, you wanted to do it later?
It wasn't like, I want to be an actor right off the start. So around my late junior year, that's when I was like, I think I might want to do this acting thing. So that being said, when I started to apply to schools, I started to apply to theater schools, and I didn't really know what I was doing. And I didn't get into a lot of the theater schools that I really wanted to. Because, and I remember very vividly, one of them was Boston University, and I did my audition, and she said, well, you're not an actor, you're a performer. Which, when I think about it, like just killed me. But I put on a happy face and I was like, oh, thank you for that wise assessment. But she was right, because I didn't really understand what I wanted to do. I didn't get it. I was like, I know that I would love to be in Taxi Driver with Robert De Niro, Taxi Driver 2, but I don't know.
Yeah, and when you're 16, your ability to self-assess is very, very, very low.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
that being said, I was like, I applied to GW because Greg Guinaccia, who is another guy that we went to high school with,
right,
and was in the theater department. He was going there, and I went to visit him, and they seemed like they had a good theater department.
Mm-hmm. And they do.
They do. Yeah. So I was going there. I was all set to go there. And Karen Hemsworth, who's also another MHS.
Another Manhasset person.
Another Manhasset person. Yeah. She was going there. So I thought, okay, there's two actors I know. And
right. And a very good academic school.
Yes.
On top of it, yeah.
And at the last second, it was my dad who was like, you want to be an actor? And at that point, I was like, I was in. I'm like, this is what I want to do. Leading up to that, I was like, do I want to be on the other side of the camera? I didn't know. But at that point, I'm like, this is what I want to do with my life.
Right.
And so my dad was like, you want to be an actor? I said, yeah. I said, well, shouldn't you stay in New York? Why are you going to Washington, D.C.? And not to say that there's amazing actors in theaters in Washington, D.C. But
no, but he makes a good point.
His point was, and I was also like you, I was doing stuff like little commercial things in the city at that point. So I was like, don't you want to be close to like the hub?
Right.
And he mentioned Hofstra. And I was like, yeah, all right, sure. And ironically enough, it turned out that Greg Guinaccia was leaving. Right? He transferred to Hofstra.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So I went. It was very late. I want to say it was like June at that point. Mm-hmm. And I met with Peter Sander, who was the head of the theater department at that point.
I remember that name, yeah.
Yeah. And I auditioned for him. And, they were like, yeah, come on in.
Wow.
And next thing I know, I was going to Hofstra. Wow. And it was really – and, it was great because my parents were right because I was still doing stuff in the city.
Yeah.
And, I don't know if it would have been better had I – gone to GW, but it is what it was.
Well, considering where we're sitting right now, it's hard to look. It's hard to look at you as having taken a wrong turn.
Right. I mean, who's to say? But it was good. But I ended up. So that's how I ended up going to Hofstra.
Wow. Yeah. And what was because I spend most of my time in TV and radio. So you and I had very little.
That was another issue I had coming here. We how come was I an asshole in college?
No.
Because I get nervous.
No.
I'm like, wait a minute, we didn't. So you're telling me, I'm like, we would see each other all the time in high school. Then we went to college.
Yeah,
and like,
I think that was I think college ended up being, and it maybe was for you too, where you just sort of try to like. Not reinvent, but just like try to spread your
reinvent.
Okay, so reinvent is a good word.
Yeah,
where you just sort of try to like forge as much as possible a new identity or expand your existing identity. And it's not that I avoided you or that I thought you were not worth. No.
Talk this out right here.
All right, well, let's hash it out.
Yeah.
You showed me your dorm room once, and it was uncomfortable, and I didn't want to go back, so that was it.
I wasn't even wearing the condom costume at that point, though.
That's probably why I left. Anyway, so for me, I was so involved in TV and radio that I stayed in that bubble almost constantly. Yeah. Like, barely left that bubble.
And it was. There are bubbles in the drama department. Was a complete bubble of its own.
Yeah, yeah.
It was hard to, because I remember trying to do stuff in the TV and comm department, and it was hard to break in, just as it was hard. I mean, I have very good friends now who weren't drama majors, and they would, audition for the shows, and the scorn. Like, what? Is he studying law and he's auditioning for Hamlet?
Right. Right.
So you did there. There were those bubbles, and
I don't know if it was necessarily intentional, but I think it just like that's the nature of the beast. At least it was at Hofstra at the time, where I met some people who knew you like because they had worked on TV projects, and I barely stepped into the theater for any amount of time. So it was like, after a while, you're like, okay, I've got these 50 people I'm dealing with on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. And I'll see Fred, and it's like, hey, cool. Hey, good to see you. Yeah. And then it's like, but
bits and bytes.
Yeah, bits and bytes. But you don't have a chance to really like follow up because you're not where I am. And we might as well have been at different schools, I think.
It's true. That's actually, reinvent is a great word. I mean, because it's, and especially again, coming with that false, precept of what Manhasset was, right. Where I was like, well, now I'm away from that oppressive environment, which wasn't oppressive at all, and let me fulfill every artistic whim I had. But now I'm at college, and I can do it even more and wear really ugly vests while doing it.
Which was de rigueur for the time.
That was big. That was 90s.
Yeah, a lot of paisley, man.
Oh my God, I had a lot of paisley. I had paisley vests. That was my big thing.
I never went to the vest. I had ties and I had boxers.
Ties too. Oh my God, paisley boxers.
Yeah, those are big.
Holy shit. Did you have silk ones?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. From Today's Man or whatever it was called.
Oh my God. I would go out of my way to find the ugliest paisley shirts because I just thought it was cool. I'm like, well, I'm an artist.
Oh my God. It's so funny what we do to ourselves. I know. And at that rate, we're so young still that we condense so much meaning into everything.
Oh my God.
You know, like day to day, it's like, man, I did a radio show, and if I messed up one line of something I said on the air, it was my career was over.
It, yeah. Oh, I remember
my radio career. Yeah.
Now you did the radio show there, right?
I did several. Yeah.
That was my dream, actually.
Oh, really?
And I did it because Paul Vincenti, who was also a Manhasset alumni, who's sort of like an idol of mine, he did a radio show at NYU.
Okay.
And so when I got to Hofstra, that's what I want to do. I went over, I applied or whatever you did. Yeah. And they were basically like, well, you got to do like the 6 a.m. classical shift. Yeah. And because in my head, I was like, oh, I already have it. It's going to be, Fred Berman's Magic Carpet Ride. Right. Something, like I had my whole show planned out.
When I went into the radio there, I had the same thought. It was like, but I just kind of like towed the line because I had gone to UConn and it was a bad experience. And I transferred
I didn't
to Hofstra.
Know that.
Yeah. So I started sophomore year at Hofstra. And when I went into the radio station, I was like, well, I'll play your little games here, but eventually I'm going to be on the air doing my own show.
So I'm going to be running things.
Yeah. Meanwhile, they were like, college kids are like, okay, whatever. Yeah. So I did a couple of those shifts where I had to do your basic, going on the air. And it was a good experience because it was a very slow pace. Yeah. Because you talked on the air for a minute and then it was like a 20-minute sonata. So it wasn't like you had to be talking and changing records and stuff like that. So that was a good actual basic way to do a show. That's great. And then you can learn to do more. But
I wish I had done that. I wish I kept with it. I just actually found, because we moved, my dad gave it to me. I found the tape of my one and only broadcast from Hofstra.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. But I wish I kept it up because I just thought it was so cool.
You would have done well there, I think. But, obviously, again, it's like I don't think you took bad turns based on results. All right. So we're trying to condense all of your career. No. I'm just trying to condense your career into such little time. But so you finished up at Hofstra. And how soon was it before you started to do more stuff professionally? Like what were your next steps?
Right off the bat. I mean, I was doing stuff while I was in Hofstra. I was going into the city and doing shows here and there. Like nothing, like little tiny off Broadway things, like readings at like the Lucille Hotel and stuff like that, and commercials, because my sister and I both had a manager from high school.
Okay,
that we used. So,
are they still in business?
They are.
Okay, so I won't ask.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah. But they're fun.
They're fun. Yeah, all right, good enough.
But so we, I just did it like right out of the gate, and I in retrospect, I might have been a little choosier with stuff, but I didn't want to be. I was like, I just want to act. My thing was like, I just want to get in the city. I want to do whatever it is. I don't care if like I'm acting on a street corner. So I just started like auditioning like mad, just getting backstage and like just doing anything and everything. And then I got my equity card in like 95, 96.
So it didn't take very long at all.
No, I went out like shortly. I did a lot of stuff in the city. I went out and did a season at Texas Shakespeare Festival with Michael C. Hall, actually.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yeah, he was great even then. I mean, I hate to like name drop, sound like we're buddies now, but he was, I remember back then being like, that guy's, he's awesome.
Good. Yeah.
And he was like a cool guy too.
Yeah.
But I did that, and then I think I got back, and then I got cast in the Mystery of Irma Vep at the New Repertory Theater in Massachusetts, and I got my equity card that way.
Okay,
and then just started, did a lot of regional, where did
you go for regional? Because this is a world I've never been involved in. I've never really done regional theater. I've never done any tours or anything like that. So what kind of spots did you hit?
Sort of all over. I mean, I did, I did a bunch of national tours, so I went all over the country. I worked in a lot of theaters in Massachusetts, like I said, Texas, mostly on the East Coast. I never do anything out west. Only when I was on tour. I toured with the Buddy Holly story, and that took us all over the country. Mm-hmm. But and then all the time then doing like really bad Shakespeare, downtown, like off Broadway production of King John, where we're literally pretending to be on horses.
Nice. We're doing this is an audio only thing. Yeah. But he just started, he's sitting in a chair and he spread his legs out and he started like tapping his one foot after the other and had his arm in front of him with a fist.
Like it's like Monty Python, like Holy Grail. Right. That's what we were doing.
Minus the coconuts.
Yeah, minus the coconuts and dead serious. Like they really thought like, this is it. This is the concept for this show. But it was great. But it was what I wanted. I was really enjoying it. I was learning it, and
you were making some money. Some money.
It took me there. Yeah.
I mean, the tours. I mean, or the regional stuff. Those were equity contracts.
Yeah, right? Yeah. No, I mean, I always did okay. I always had to have side jobs, like a lot of side jobs. Yeah. But
for a lot of people, like they spend 15 years just pushing and pushing, doing a lot of free projects, and then like it takes 15 years to make $1. Yeah. So you were making a little bit of money.
No, I was making money, and it was just I just always knew that no matter what, like I just wanted to keep acting because if I'm not acting, then I'm catering. And then I'm a caterer, and I don't want. And nothing against caterers; it's a fantastic way to earn a living.
It's just not your goal.
I still have my old tuxedo in a closet, just in case, just as a reminder, and just in case.
Sure.
But it was just important to me to like, even if I had no money, to still do that free show or something, just so I'm acting, so I'm doing something.
That makes sense.
And then luckily I got. Started to do commercial stuff and slowly got into the world of voiceovers, which was, that was a nice little circle to finally break into.
Yeah. When did you start to really book stuff?
I'd always done it here and there through this manager I had. And then I want to say like 2000 maybe was when, is that when I first signed with Abrams? I can't remember. Somewhere around there, 2000. No, maybe 2001. Might have been after. Yeah, might have been 2001, 2002.
Okay.
When I signed with them, and then it really started to pick up.
And you've been with them for now 13 years or so.
Yeah, it's been good. And I even knew them. I actually freelanced with Billy Ciro when he was at William Morris,
right?
And then Endeavor. Billy Enda and Jessica Fell Rice, who are both agents at Abrams, and they were both there. So
what is it like having that long a relationship with an agent? What does that do for you, you think?
I can go swimming with him. I saw him at a pool the other day, and I was able to see him without a shirt off, and it wasn't awkward.
That's how. I mean, that was my first meeting with him. So. But what's but there's it's hard enough to just have an agent representing you.
Yeah.
So 13 years in, I mean, like, do you feel the difference between what your relationship is with that, with Abrams, period, and how it was in the beginning?
Absolutely. I mean, just because of that longevity, you have more of, obviously more personal relationships. So they know they know that I have a family now. They know I have kids. They know that my responsibilities have shifted a little bit. And they understand it. In the beginning, you're just so hungry. You want to do anything to please them. And I still want to please them. We're working together. But now I feel more comfortable now being like, thank you so much. I would love to go on this audition. I can't because I have to bring my son to the doctor's appointment. Whereas back then it was like I would have done anything because I was so terrified. Like, I don't want to fuck this up.
And you don't want them to drop you and or put you on the bottom of the list.
And by no means do I take, just because I've been with him for so long, I don't take that relationship for granted at all.
Oh, no.
And I still feel like they could drop me at any moment, because they can be like, you know what, we're tired of dealing with the shit, so...
they don't want you showing up in a condom costume.
Yeah, exactly. No, it was funny the first time, Fred. Not so funny. So wrap that rascal somewhere else, okay? Wrap that rascal in a tuxedo and go cater somewhere because you're not working here.
Right.
How long have you been with them?
It's only been it's not been as long as you because I started with another agency, but you'd think I'd know about 2008.
Okay,
what's that? Man, time flies.
Yeah,
as you know.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I think it might have been 2008.
Did you start with them on camera or voiceover or both?
I kind of came in for both.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I met with Tracy first, and then
awesome.
I met with Tracy first, and then met with the voiceover department, and I needed to know that I was going to be. They were interested in me in both senses before I made a jump, and that's what precipitated the jump. Yeah, and they're great. I've had a great relationship with them so far, awesome. So I'm very happy with that. So it would be silly for us to not have this conversation and not at least, well, first of all, mention where we're sitting right now, which is your dressing room at the Minskoff Theater.
I know, it's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
not bad, actually.
No. I mean, for somebody who has never been in a Broadway dressing room, this is luxurious. This is. I got caught between saying luxury and luxurious, but this is luxurious.
Yeah, I like that.
And it's decorated in the very way I would expect a Fred Berman dressing room. You've got an Elvis Costello album on the wall, and you're surrounded by pictures of your kids, which is, of course, which is great. And you share this with your I guess your partner in crime in the show.
My partner.
Yes. So you're doing Lion King. How long have you been in Lion King?
I've been in it 4 years.
4 years.
4 years. Yeah.
How did you get the part? I mean, that's.
I first auditioned for it when the show first came to Broadway. No, I'm sorry. The show came to Broadway. Max Casella was playing my role. I played Timon. And he originated the role. After 6 months, he left. So that's when they called me in to audition.
Okay.
Which I loved because I was always a huge Max Casella fan.
Yeah, from Doogie
Howser. Yeah. And he was one of those guys that I'd watch Doogie Howser and be like, oh my God, that's like the type of role I want to play.
Oh, very good.
I love that guy. He's like a little ethnic dark guy.
Right. And he's kind of like you in that you maintain this really young, that's the third time I've hit my own microphone today.
Gotta find a new career.
This is not going well. You both have that idea because when we were watching him on Doogie Howser, he was already 45. Like 40. Yeah. So like he's way older than he plays, and I think you have that going for you also.
Yeah, to a certain extent. Yeah.
So it's interesting you picked him at a very early age.
Yeah, I always liked him. But so I was fascinated when I remember when Lion King came out, and I think as the staged version that is. Along with most people were like, wait, what?
Yeah, it was a little hard to swallow at the beginning.
And then it became this huge juggernaut right off the bat. And I remember specifically saying, well, who plays Timon and Pumbaa? And I was like, oh, Max Casella. That's so cool. I love him. So I sort of kept that in the back of my head being like, oh, all right, well, we're sort of the same type. 6 months later, I got a call to go in for it, which I was like, oh, this is great. Went in for it. Didn't get it. Cut to 13 years later. Because the guy who did get it, I think, was the swing at the time, or Max's understudy.
Okay.
He stayed for 13 years. Which, it's a great gig.
Happens, yeah.
Yeah, it's a fantastic gig. I I don't think anyone thought it was going to run for that long, you know?
Right.
But it did. So I'd get calls every now and then about auditioning for the tour. And I didn't want to do it at that time. Well, it's funny. It's ironic because I had another friend who did Lion King like the second or third year. And he had a very bad experience with it.
Oh, interesting.
And I'd heard some stories. I feel like there was I feel like in any show that runs for a long time, there's sort of like a dark period, you know, where there's like the excitement of this is brand new and it's great. And then it might fall into a weird phase.
It's like a new restaurant in town.
Exactly. Yeah. So apparently this was a very dark period for the show.
Okay.
Not that it was doing bad, but I think for whatever reason, my friend...
That shine had faded.
Yeah, and I think they were still figuring out... I think the costumes were a little different. It's a very physical show. So the costumes were a little different at the time. I think more people are getting hurt, maybe.
Okay.
They've since, you know...
Resolved all that.
Lion King is doing okay. They're doing just fine.
Fred Berman puts his thumbs up, gives his stamp to Lion King.
So all that being said, again, this is just coming from one guy who was not happy in it. It might have been great, but this
you can only take that so far.
Yeah. And so we were very close, and I would hear his stories, and just from him talking, I was like, I'm never going to do that show. There's no way. And it was also it wasn't just The Lion King. It was the idea of going into a long running show. I had this weird thing, and now granted, at the time I was not married, I didn't have kids.
Sure.
But I just thought, I'm an actor. I don't want to do that. I don't want to stay in a show for that long. That's crazy. Why would you do that? You know, it still is. I've been in the show 4 years, and I still think I'm like, this is really weird. But so I remember getting calls to go in for the tour, and I was just like, no, I don't want to do that, which is crazy. Like, why would you? That's
especially
nuts. Like, who the fuck
stage
did I think
in your career.
Yeah. But I was just like, I don't want to do it. Like, I don't want to go. And I also thought because it had been running. And it was Disney, and I had this preconceived notion of what that meant, that it was going to be a machine, and I wasn't going to have artistic freedom. And they'd be like, you have to do this, and you have to do this, and you have to do that. And so I don't want to do that. Now, cut to years later, my son is about 1.5 years old. My daughter was just born, and I get a call saying, hey, they want to audition you for Lion King. The role, the guy who's been doing it is leaving. Now, at that point, suddenly priorities had changed.
Sure.
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I thought I'd never done a Broadway show before. And, you know, always wanted to.
Had you ever done anything close to it, like the schedule?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you were used to the at least the rigors of it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'd done tons of off-Broadway and regional stuff that was the same type of schedule. So, nothing is physical.
Right.
But so anyway, so I went in and I had my audition for, my pre-screen for the casting. It seemed to go well. I felt pretty good about it. They called me in for the associate directors, who they're the ones who like take care of, now that Julie Taymor sort of stepped aside, they run the whole show. They make sure everything is running smoothly.
Right.
When new shows open in new cities or countries, they go in, they put it all up.
Right.
I auditioned for them. Felt very good. And I feel like going into it, I'm like, this is in my wheelbarrow. Wheelbarrow, my wheelhouse.
It both. It can be it can be in your wheelbarrow that you keep in the wheelhouse.
That's what it was.
Yes,
so I felt good about it. I worked with my acting coach on it, and even he was like, why are you working on this? This is like your thing. And I'm like, I just don't want to fuck it up.
Right.
Like I had done God, this is a long-winded story.
That's okay.
But like I'd done so many things that were like almost Broadway, like, oh, this show's going to Broadway, and then it would move and they wouldn't use me, or like it just wouldn't go. And and I don't know if you heard this, but when my son was born, everyone was like, babies bring money, babies bring money. I had the worst year of my career.
No, I heard the exact opposite.
Oh, really?
And it was, they were dead on.
Oh,
someone said to me, a guy named Adam Mucci, who's now doing a show. He's, what the heck's the name of the show? Money grubbing whores.
Okay.
He's currently in that. And I saw him and he said, you have a baby, you're not going to book anything for a year. Almost to the day.
Yeah. Oh my God, it was awful.
I did
one of the best shows I've ever done, this off-Broadway show called Bury the Dead. It was fantastic. I got paid like $150 a week for it.
Oh, geez, yeah.
And then, so that being said, my daughter was born, and I was just like,
you got to do something.
I need this. So I just worked my ass off. Went in for the resident directors. They were very happy. They brought me in for a puppet workshop. So it was basically just an hour to get in the puppet. And basically it's a full-size puppet that's attached to I'm completely seen. It's not like I'm covered up, but it's takes the whole body to control it.
Right.
So they wanted to just try me on that just to see that I wasn't like an idiot, see that I could do it. And then my final callback, it was for Julie Taymor.
Wow.
Yeah, which I didn't know until the day before.
Oh,
and my agent was like, by the by, because I'd heard a rumor, and I called my agent and I said, I heard that Julie might be there. And he said, no, she won't be there. Then he called me later and said, she's going to be there.
Wow. Yeah.
So I went in and there was a few of us, Timons and Pumbas, and I had to go in, do the scene in the song Hakuna Matata without the puppet. Mm-hmm. Then we had to put the puppet on. And I was the last person, I remember.
How many people were there, do you think?
There were about 4 or 5 other Timons, maybe. Okay. All of which who had done the role before. On the tour or something. I think there was one other guy who hadn't done it. Mm-hmm. So I just thought, they can give it to either the guys who got it or this other guy who went to Yale, and people who go to Yale get everything. Because, that's just what happens.
Right.
They're like those people from Manhasset.
Yeah.
Right. And
especially with that Hofstra thing. Yeah.
And so I was the last person. I did the scene, then I had to go in with the puppet, and they said, improvise. So they just want you to go in and improvise in the puppet.
Oh, nice.
So I did. I made a lot of, at the time, Spider-Man, I was still in development.
Okay.
So it was sort of a safe topic. So I made a lot of Spider-Man jokes, which Julie found very funny.
Right. You weren't you weren't saying like, someone doing the show might get killed.
No.
Like that. Yeah.
No. This was like, it hadn't even gotten to rehearsals yet.
All right. So it was kind of a buzz, but it wasn't like a negative buzz. Yeah.
And like Catherine Bigelow had just won the Oscar for Hurt Locker the night before.
Yeah.
So I went in, and as Timon, I like kept calling Julie Catherine. Like, Ms. Bigelow, it's an honor to meet the greatest female director. Thankfully, she laughed.
Right.
And then went, well, whatever. I didn't know what to think. And then the next morning, I got out of the A train right here on 44th Street. I was going to record an audiobook, and I ran into the casting director on the street. And it was great. I love thinking back to it. And I saw him coming, and I went, oh, shit.
Yeah.
And he was just looking at me, and we sort of stopped and stared at each other. And he said, hi, Fred. I said, hi, Mark. What are you looking at, Fred?
Oh, jeez.
I don't know. What are you looking at, Mark? Long pause. I finally just said, you're going to get the offer.
Oh,
and I was like, oh,
man.
And it was,
No, so Mark
Brandon.
Okay.
Yeah. From, over at Binder Casting.
Okay, sure.
Casting, yeah.
But that's how rare is that to get that kind of news face to face?
Yeah, it was great. And I was, needless to say, ecstatic. Yeah. And now going back to what I was saying, my fears about, because I want to get this in. So, the heads at Disney aren't like, what are you grumbling about?
Oh, no. Yeah.
Everything that I thought it was going to be was the complete opposite. And I sort of went into it going, you know what? If they want me to move this way and say the line this way and do that, I'll do it. I have a kid. I'll do it for a year. I'll smile and just do what I have to do. And it wasn't like that at all.
That's great.
We came in and they really wanted us, because it was me and Ben Jeffrey who plays Pumbaa. We came in at the same time, and they really wanted us to treat it like almost like a new work.
Wow. That's great.
So it was great. I mean, if there were times if I ever did something that like another Timon did do, because I thought that's what they wanted, I would get yelled at. Yeah. They're like, no, come up with your own shit. And
that's great.
And they still do. 4 years in, they still let us play, and it's been great. Yeah, I get very, very lucky.
How long did it take for you to? I mean, you got the part, and then how long is it before you felt really comfortable saying, okay, yeah, I got this? Well, actually, that's two questions in one. Yeah. So how long did it take for you to actually learn it and know exactly what you needed to do once you got hired? How quickly did they throw you on stage?
I got hired in March, and I think I started rehearsals in May, I believe. Okay. So I had a little time, and they did some costume fittings and whatnot. And then we had 4 weeks of rehearsal. And like I said, it was great. I mean, they really, we sat in, we came in, it was a bunch of new actors coming to the show. So we had table reads for the first week. There was a lot of discussion and talking. And at that point, I had never even seen the show.
Wow.
I saw the show my first week of rehearsal, which I think actually helped me get the role in many ways.
I can totally relate to, because anytime you're asked to do something that's based on another work that people know, the last thing I ever want to do is look at that previous work.
It always fucks me up.
Yeah.
I went in for Young Frankenstein when they were doing that, like the tour of it. And I remember I had my whole idea for Igor. And I, I was working on the sides and I hadn't seen it. I had my whole idea, and that hard enough to begin with because you're thinking about Marty Feldman in the movie.
Yeah. Or trying to do everything you can not to do that.
Yeah. And then I remember at the last second, I was like, let me just see. Christopher Fitzgerald played it on Broadway, and I think he was nominated for the Tony. And I'm like, let me just do a YouTube search, and it completely fucked me up because he was so good.
Yes.
But I wasn't doing anything that I wanted to do. I was just thinking about that.
Yeah.
Whereas like just going in and not knowing, just being like, these are my choices. You either, and as go with it or you don't.
Yeah. And a general note, as an actor, it's like I've learned this over the years, and I think you probably, you just said it, is that we have to go in with the ideas that we have, put them on the table, and walk away.
Yeah.
If you try to do what you think they want, that's when you're never going to be yourself.
Yeah, it's the worst.
You're never going to let it go. You just have to just commit to what you think is the right thing to do at that moment and just walk away.
Yeah.
And I think obviously it shows that the difference between what you experience with Young Frankenstein and with the Lion King, it night and day, obviously, the results.
Because I had no idea what they wanted, what to expect. I mean, again, you have the movie to refer to, but even that I tried to stay away from.
Yeah. For the music, that's good, but the performance, I'm sure you didn't want to.
No, and I remembered it, but I hadn't seen it in a long time, and I'm like,
and you didn't want to come and do a Nathan Lane either. Yeah.
So, but it was great. So we had 4 weeks of rehearsal, really which was great for me and Ben, just to build our character relationship and whatnot, and come up with our own stuff. At the end of the first week, of the second week, they started getting us into the puppets, which was crazy. I mean, I'd never done any puppetry before, unless you call the condom thing full-bodied puppetry.
I guess in a way, if you were just starting out, I would recommend putting it on the resume. Yeah. But I don't know if it counts for doing Lion King.
No, they never asked. Julie never asked, but I never told her. But so we started doing that, and that was just crazy. And there are still days when I say to myself, as fortunate as I know I am to have this job, there are definitely days where I go, it'd be great. I remember when I used to do shows and I would just wear like a shirt.
Yeah. Now, for anybody who doesn't know, I mean, like, you're not just carrying around this puppet and doing puppeteering. You're in full costume and full makeup.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's got to be in and of itself.
It's a lot, yeah.
What is a typical day like? I mean, like, if let's say it's an 8 o'clock show, you do 8 o'clock curtain?
8 o'clock curtains, yeah.
So what time do you get here, and how long does it take to get up and geared up and
I have to get here at, my call's at 7:30, which is that's usual normal for theater half-hour call. Some of the actors have to be here a little earlier, but my character doesn't go on until about an hour into the show.
Oh, okay, sure.
So I get her at a half hour. At the 15-minute call, I'll start to put some makeup on down here. At the 5-minute call, I go upstairs to makeup. And then the show starts, and the makeup supervisor does the rest of my makeup. Takes about 15, 20 minutes or so.
It's not that bad.
No, it's not too bad at all.
Okay.
And then I come down here. I do some stretches. I warm up. We have like a whole routine now. Like Scotty, our sound guy, comes in. The hair supervisor comes in. We hang out, and then it's usually, if it's an 8 o'clock show, usually around, 8:45 is when I'm walking to the stage.
Right.
And at that point, hopefully I'm like stretched and warmed up and do vocal warm-ups. And then I get into the puppet, which now is just like super quick. I mean, I have a dresser who helps me get into it. The beginning, that's what I was going to say.
How long did it take for you to get to that point where you were comfortable saying, okay, I know everything I need to do before I go on stage?
I'd say a year.
A year.
A year. I mean, look, I used this word before, machine, and before I was using it more pejoratively. Now, I mean, but in the best way, it is a well-oiled machine here. And there is, I often wish that like we could film backstage, because it's amazing what goes on backstage, while the show's going on. I mean, because of all the dressers and the prop guys and sound running around and hair. I mean, there's just so much activity, and everyone knows where to be at the right time. So when I came into the show, they were like, just follow us. We'll get you to the right spot, and they were great.
That's great.
But so the backstage stuff was, they just sort of pushed me around, but yeah, getting used to actually using the puppet and learning how to act through the puppet and not, because in designing the show, Julie Taymor wanted, none of the actors are hidden. She doesn't, and that's not the point. She doesn't want the puppets to overshadow the actors or vice versa.
Right.
It's about like this double event of like seeing the human element and then the animal puppet in front. So that was the challenge, just trying to figure out, well, how do I do that? And still for lack of a better word, be a good actor on stage,
Yeah.
And connect with my fellow actor and have like real moments and truthful moments with myself and with the puppet.
I can't imagine that there's another challenge like that out there. Is there anything else that you could even relate to going on in any other show?
No, not like this. Yeah.
Because it's like a very dual thing you're doing.
Yeah.
And it's not like the character has a puppet, and it's not like the puppet has this unseen, like with Sesame Street, like the Frog, you never see the guy doing the puppeteering. So it's like, but you have to be good at, that's really
you got to figure it out. And it was a tricky balance because I'm looking at Ben, the actor, but Timon, the puppet, is supposed to be looking at the Pumbaa puppet.
Wow.
Which was really hard to figure out at first because for a long time, we didn't know what we were doing. So we were staring at the puppets, so I was looking at his puppet, talking to that, and he was looking at my puppet. And after like a month or two of that, we're like, maybe we should try looking at each other and connecting like actors do, like human beings. Right. Excuse me. And that helped immensely. And,
did you learn that after you started actual shows, or was that through the rehearsal process?
That was in the shows.
Interesting.
Yeah, because we did, we were just figuring it out. I mean, we were very well rehearsed, but it's still, like you said, it's a whole different thing with his puppet. So, I mean, but like I said earlier, it was about 8 months in where suddenly I felt like, oh, I know this puppet. Like, I know exactly what to do. I could like mess around and do completely different things, which I was doing before acting wise, but I don't think it was being conveyed into the puppet, to the life of the puppet. Yeah. So now like I feel like we can play around, and I always check before I go on stage. There's a mirror, there's a dresser, what we call the bunker backstage. And still to this day, I'll still always go in front of it and just check the puppet and just play around and try some different things. And cool. Maybe I can try that just to make sure it's fresh. But it's not your normal theater gig.
No, and since it is so physical, is keeping in shape just a thing that happens all by itself, or do you have to work it out? Also, keeping in shape outside of the show? No, because you have to. Now I say this, and I don't know when the last time I saw a gym was, just because I don't have time. Yeah, really.
But the show does keep you in a certain type of shape, but it's like anything, like you're doing the same thing over and over again, so you plateau.
Oh, okay.
So you've got to keep. So like when I first started the show, I was running a lot. I was doing a lot of yoga, just try to keep limber and going to the gym a lot, and just and I'll still do that now. Do yoga and different things, and tell myself that I have to go back to the gym, which is in itself is.
I'm having 2 kids, man. People keep asking me if I'm losing weight or working out. It's like, no, I just pick up, 20 to 50 pounds worth of child, several times a day.
That'll do it. Yeah. That'll get your muscle mass going.
Yeah. So you picked a good time to have the kids.
I guess. Yeah.
So besides Lion King, what else are you working on? You got some stuff that I know you had mentioned in private that you had a couple things that you've been working on.
Yeah, I do a lot of. I've been very lucky to be able to work in the audiobook world. So that's sort of like my day job when I'm not in the Lion King. So
and what for somebody who's not sure what that means, what exactly do you do for that job?
I basically read the book into a microphone. I pick up the book and I read it, and it's pretty.
Maybe not everybody is as stupid as I am.
It's that's pretty much it. I read books.
Avid audiobook files. What are some of the things? What are some of the biggest ones you've done?
I do the Walking Dead books, which are written by Robert Kirkman and Jay Bonasinga. I know I just pronounced his name wrong.
And that's part of what you have to do, right?
I have to, yeah, I know. I never pronounce his name right, and I've done all this awful. But so that's a pretty big series that I've done. I did, there's that movie coming out, Horns, with Daniel Radcliffe, and I did the audiobook of that. But I've done a lot. I've done, well over 100 audiobooks now.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's been cool. It's been fun. And it's great because, obviously business side, it's another source of income, which is fantastic. Sure. But acting wise, it's great too, because the majority of books I've done have been fiction. So, I get to play this amazing array of characters that I would never in a million, I'm never going to get cast as, the 60-year-old hulking African-American, zombie killer, on stage or film.
Let's not be so limited in our vision here. So
I'm growing into that type.
Yeah, that's true. With every step. So you're not just narrating, you're actually like acting out the different parts.
Yeah. And that's and a lot of people are like, how do you do audiobooks? I have no idea if how I'm doing it is the right way.
Right. But you keep going back to it, so you're doing something right.
I guess I'm doing, I suppose so. I just know for me, it's the most fun way to do it. And so I go into it like every book's like a performance. Like there's a chance for me to really act. And even if it's nonfiction and it's just a narrative, I still try to look at it. Okay, here's a first, who am I telling this story? Mm-hmm. I'm giving this information to someone else.
Right.
Because if it's just reading the book, it just doesn't.
It's not
for me. It doesn't work. Yeah,
it's not very interesting to listen to either. Yeah,
I guess so.
You have to have a point of view somehow.
Yeah. So that's what makes it fun for me to really go in and to get to play all these roles and it keeps things fresh and so that's good. And I have a movie that I did a couple years ago, which is coming out. It just came out, and it's actually going to be. Well, I don't know if I can announce this. It's you can get it on iTunes now, and it will be accessible somewhere else soon.
Fair enough.
I can't say where.
Can you at least tell
Putzel? The name of the movie is Putzel.
I've heard a little bit about that, but you probably I know so little about it that what's the basic gist of the movie?
It's like an Upper West Side Jewish folktale, sort of, but that's sort of limiting. It's basically it's about this young man who is grown up working at this Spiegel and lock store for his entire life, and he I don't want to give things away for the movie, but he has these aspirations, and it's about people taking chances. And it's a really sort of, I always compare it when people ask me, I'm like, it's sort of like Crossing Delancey meets Sideways.
Okay.
And it was written and directed by a guy I know, Jason Chayet, who I've known for several years. And Allegra Cohen. Do you know Allegra?
Yes, I do know Allegra.
She's great. She came on as she's a producer. Melanie Linsky's in it, Jack Carpenter, John Pankow, do you know John Pankow?
No, but I know Melanie Linsky, yes.
Yeah, but John, if you saw John Pankow, he was Cousin Ira on Mad About You.
Oh, of course, yes.
He's like he's like the greatest guy you'd ever want to meet.
Great character actor.
Fantastic character actor. And like the greatest stories, and just like you look at him and you're like, that's the actor I want to be.
Right.
I want his career. I want to do what he's done. Like just bouncing between stage and movies and just so cool. But
did you work with Melanie Linsky?
I did very briefly. I play a character called Tunch, who is he's a Russian janitor who works in the store.
Okay.
And he's got a certain fetish in the movie. He's got a fetish for the fish.
It's right up the Fred Berman.
Yeah, it sort of goes through, follows my theme.
Yeah, but she was very. I worked with her on a project.
What?
In Hello, I Must Be Going. And my scene was limited to just like a voiceover.
But I Must Be Going. Which one was? Is that the one in the poster? She's like in the pool.
Yeah,
that's right. I heard she's fantastic in that.
She is. She's
so
amazing.
good.
Yeah, and super super nice.
Really,
and,
really nice.
Sometimes when you work with somebody, like you said, like you work with Michael C. Hall, and you didn't really stay in touch, which is fine. But a lot of times that's just the nature of the business. Yeah. But like I reached out to her on Twitter, and she responded, and it's like
she's super sweet. Yeah,
when somebody just takes that moment to do it. It's like, as somebody who is lower than she is on the totem pole to be super nice. Yeah. I just have so much respect for that. So
no, she didn't strike me. There were like no airs about her.
None.
She's really good in the movie.
Is she?
Yeah. It's I have to say, you never know going into these things.
Of course.
But it's a great film. It looks, I mean, the budget, when they told me what the budget was, I was like, why? It was so tiny, so minuscule.
Okay. Yeah.
But because you would never in a million years think that. I mean, it looks, like a fairly, big budget movie. Wow. And it's really good. There's great performances in it. And, I was very, very proud of the final project. And, it's not a huge role that I have, but it's a very memorable one. And, I'm happy that people are saying it.
Putzel, like pretzel, but with a U instead of the R-E.
That's it.
Yeah.
Putzel, yeah. You can get it on iTunes and on demand and other places very soon.
Other places very soon. Yeah. So you must have developed a certain following. This is a very high-profile gig, so I'm sure you're available to people somehow. So how do people get in touch with you if they're like, hey, I want to reach out to Fred Berman?
You can go to I have a website.
That's a good one.
FredBerman.net. I couldn't get .com.
Why?
Because there's a dead Marine named Fred Berman who has FredBerman.com.
You can't really complain about that, can you?
No.
You kind of come off like a dick if you'd be like, no, you don't understand. I'm the Fred Berman.
Yeah, so I saw that. So I have .net. I debated getting .org.
Okay.
That would be funny.
.org.
.edu.
Something. XXX. I think that would be perfect. Yeah. You want to get the XXX one.
I still have time to do that.
Yeah. And you're on the Twitter and Facebook?
I'm not on the Twitter. I'm on the Facebook.
You're on the Facebook.
There's like a Facebook. I hate saying it because it sounds douchey.
Fan page.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, we need a better term than that.
You sound like a douche when you say that.
Well, here's the thing. Did you create the fan page or did somebody else?
No, I created it, which makes me sound like an even bigger
No. But then it's I understand it fully because I have a fan page that I created. Yeah. But it's like a terrible term for it. But it's like a marketing really necessity.
It's marketing. And also, you know what it was? I was getting a lot of people contacting me who were Lion King fans or who listened to my audiobooks, or I've done a lot of voices for video games. And you get some really rabid fans there who are great.
Sure.
And they were contacting me, I love, I'm like, you like what I did? I love you. But, with Facebook, I have pictures of my kids on there.
You have to kind of separate the two at a certain point.
So that's why I was like, I don't want to sound so dumb, but, like people are like asking for friend requests and I didn't want to be a dick, but I'm also like, I don't know you. I've literally never met you.
And that's something that, I think people are starting to understand that.
I think so.
Because if you let's say you worked at the deli.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, hey, tell me all about the deli. They'll tell you all about the deli. Yeah. But it's like, okay, now take me to your house and show me everything. Nobody would even think that that's okay.
It's true.
And since we're living in a virtual world, you have this, your Facebook page is your home, but your fan page, or lack of a better term, is your deli.
Yeah.
And there's got to be some separation there.
I like that. I like that as my deli.
Well, we just coined a new thing.
I know. It's true. But I'll always write like if someone like sends me a friend request, I'll always be like, thank you so much. Can you please, I'm just trying to keep this with family and friends. Would you mind just checking out this other page?
I've actually gotten that same reaction from people who I wasn't directly friends with in the business, who I was friend of a friends with. And since they didn't quite catch on that we had mutual friends, they're like, yeah, this is, definitely I keep this for personal stuff. And I respect that tremendously. So you're actually going above and beyond. Like the Melanie Linsky thing. It's just like, I'm sure they're going to appreciate that.
Yeah.
As much as, well, not maybe as much as like being brought into your home. That's 4 now. Brought into 4 microphone knocks. This is a record.
This is an exciting conversation. This is like a physical.
We're very animated.
We're not just sitting down. Like, you should see the shit that we're doing in this dressing room.
Yeah, I mean, there's like backup dancers and stuff.
It's amazing. You're doing fantastic, honey. Keep going. That's how I talk.
This is going to look great on your resume. Yeah. So I forgot what I was saying, but I think they're going to appreciate that. Maybe not as much as if you actually accepted the friend request, but at least you reached back and said, I appreciate it, and at least let's keep in touch this way.
Yeah.
So that's why I think it's important from a marketing standpoint, or just like a public figure standpoint, to be able to have that layer that's not like, yes, come to my house and have dinner.
Right.
So I totally understand that. I think most people are starting to get that idea too. Anyway, thanks for doing this.
Thank you, dude. This is great.
I'm thrilled. Fun. Yeah, it's good to reminisce.
I listened to I listened to your podcast with Otto and Kathy Searle.
Yes.
I know both of them, and I was like, this is awesome.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Turts McGurts, man.
Yeah,
that's the reaction I was looking for.
You got it.
And that is my old friend, Fred Berman. I think we threw him a little bit of a curveball at the end there with the Turts McGurts thing, but that's why we do Turts McGurts. And if you have no idea why I said Turts McGurts, go back and listen to the previous episodes of this podcast and find out what I was talking about. Then, what I'm talking about now is if you want to go check out Fred online, you can go to fredberman.net. That's FredBerman.net. As we discussed, you can go to fredberman.com, but you certainly won't find out anything more about the the guy who plays Timon in Disney's The Lion King on Broadway. But if you go to fredberman.net, you can also find out about his exploits doing the audiobook series for The Walking Dead, which is very cool, and more information about the film Putzel, and lots more on Fred's site. You can also check him out on Facebook, but unfortunately you can't find him on Twitter. And hopefully after this he'll understand how important Twitter is to his fans so they can reach out and hear from him. So Fred, get on Twitter. That is a command. More of a pleasant request. But anyway, thanks for being here, Fred. That was a lot of fun talking to you. That about does it for another edition of Bring Your Own Lunch. Of course, we got to thank Banuba.net. Find out where they'll be. Download some of their music at their website. Don't forget, on Wednesday, October 29th, the New York Short Film Shootout returns to the Treehouse Theater in the heart of New York City. Vinny Petrosini and I will be hosting that one again with a lineup of fun short films geared toward the holiday season, the holiday being Halloween, of course. And Treehouse Theater NYC, throw them a little bit of a thank you. TreehouseTheaterNYC.com. You can visit their site, find out about the venue where the New York Short Film Shootout will be happening. And of course, don't forget to go to our website, BringYourOwnLunch.com, for all the episodes past, present, and presumably future of this show. You can find us on Facebook, Facebook.com/BringYourOwnLunch, and follow us on Twitter. We do that Thanks for Following Friday thing on Fridays. So if you follow us, we'll give a shout out to you on Friday. You can find us at BYOL Podcast. And of course, more importantly than anything else ever existed, this is the most important thing ever. Go to iTunes. Subscribe to our podcast, rate and review, tell people that you know, tell people you don't know, tell people who don't exist yet to listen to this podcast, because the more the merrier as far as I'm concerned. Stay tuned for the Jimmy Jack Cow Punch Hour, followed by Mansoor and the Fish. And until next week, when I have another great guest lined up, this is Dave. See you next Tuesday. Wrap that rascal!